Hi everyone, I just want to take a minute to show you a little trick on using Excel to do descriptive statistics. And this is actually an add-in that's available in Excel. And I showed you how to add it in the week 1 folder. Okay, so as you can see, I have our data set from week 1's homework. I'm going to highlight this and get all of the students that were included in that sample. And then I'm going to go over here and put this data set in Excel. Okay, so I have my data set in Excel. And remember that when you cannot see all of something in Excel, if you simply go to the top of the column in between the letters until you get this little line with the arrows going both ways and double click, it'll make it formatted to include show all the data in there. Okay, so in the other video of how to do add-ins, I went through that. So I already have the add-in in my version of Excel. So I'm going to go up here to the data ribbon. And as you can see over here, I have both data analysis and solver in my Excel. So the one that we're going to use to do our descriptive statistics is going to be in the data analysis. So I'm going to click on data analysis, and my data analysis choices come up, and one of those in there says descriptive statistics. So I'm going to choose descriptive statistics and click OK. And now Excel says, okay, what would you like to see descriptive statistics for? So what I would like to do is do an analysis of the course grade. Okay, so the student number is not relevant in this case. So I'm just going to do this column here, this G column. And I'm going to get it down to where it has all of my students in there. And now that input range is in my cell format here. Okay, so it's showing to do an analysis from G3 to G27. If I had included, whoops, I just lost my data set. If I include this course grade, I want to click this box right here to let Excel know that yes, there's words in that, because it's not going to understand what to do with that top. It'll give me an error message if I don't tell it that it is the label for that, or I can just leave it off like I just did. So I'm going to do this one more time, grab my data all the way down to our last student. And this time I did use G2, which was my label, so I want to make sure Excel knows that I'm using a label at the top. Now I'm going to tell Excel that I want to see my output on the same page. If I didn't click this right here, it defaults to a new sheet, which would just take you to a second sheet next to the data set. So I'm going to tell it to put my output range right next to my data. So I'm going to go over here and click a cell that's close to the top. And then the last thing I want to do is I'd like to do summary statistics. I believe on the homework, maybe we had a 95 confidence level. If it was 90 or maybe it was 99, you could change that right here by going to this cell. Okay, so that's everything. I'm just going to push OK. And here we go. This is so cool, isn't it? Look what you got. Now, something that you want to pay attention to, first of all, what I always check is it gives you a count. And in this case, we did have 25 students, and my count is 25. Sometimes I've had students do this in the past, and they'll get a mean that is off, and then first thing I look at is the count. And often what they've done is they've missed a student, so they didn't get the right or correct amount of students in there. Okay, so as you see, a lot of your homework asked you what was the mean for that data set, the standard error. So this would be the standard error that will be around the mean. Here's the median. And in this case, we have NA, and Excel does NA for our mode because there is not a repeated number in these grades. So it doesn't put 0 because Excel says, oh, well, if it's 0, that means that there's 0 in your data set. So it puts not applicable for that. And that just means that none of these grades have been repeated. Okay. We have our standard deviation calculated, the sample variance. Remember in our first week's homework, it said, oh, is it skewed? And in the supplemental material, we talked about skewness, and here we find that there's a negative there. So yes, we do know that it's skewed. We have a range, and the range is the difference between the maximum and the minimum. So if you take this maximum and subtract the minimum, you're going to get the range. So all of those students fall within 22.37 points. And we have our confidence level. So that's really a neat trick to do, and take some time just to play around with this because it'll help you when you have your exam. It might be an easier way to have the data set in there and then just calculate these things. I don't believe that any of the questions are dependent, but this would help you to do some quick and dirty analysis in descriptive statistics. And I say that because the standard deviation is calculated here with a finite amount of digits. So I don't really like to show this too much the first week because some of the answers come off a little bit different, and that's because of rounding in Excel. So if you get something close, usually, especially with a data set like this where you're just talking about somebody's grade, out to the 4th digit, that's really okay. If this was something that was more critical, like if we were talking about surgery outcomes or something that's life-threatening, we'd probably want to be really accurate. But in this case, this is one of those good enough. So I hope this helps, and have a wonderful weekend, and enjoy the weather for the next couple days till it gets cold again. Take care.